This, I think, is a nice compliment to our first segment about the hypocrisy on display at the Democratic National Convention. As a practical joke, I guess, they put Bernie Sanders' speech in front of J.B. Pritzker's speech, the governor of Illinois.
You know, there's a lot of talk about how these hidden cabals make people perform humiliation rituals in public.
Right.
Everyone dismisses it as a conspiracy theory. This is pretty good evidence that that's real.
Yes. Yes. Here it is.
And my friends, at the very top of that to-do list is the need to get big money out of our political process. Billionaires in both parties should not be able to buy elections, including primary elections.
Donald Trump thinks that we should trust him on the economy because he claims to be very rich. But take it from an actual billionaire.
Look at that.
Trump is rich in only one thing: stupidity.
Now, as we know from the previous segment, the DNC pre-approved all of the speeches. They didn't let anybody just go up there and wing it because they rejected the speech that the uncommitted people gave them. So they obviously knew Bernie was going to go up there and say billionaires shouldn't be able to buy elections. And they knew that this guy was going to go up there and get the dig in that he's a real billionaire and Donald Trump is not. So was it not a practical joke to set them as like two adjacent speakers on the same night?
Well, if you look at how stage managed this convention was, it's like saying Stanley Kubrick didn't mean to put that shade of orange there.
Yeah, right. It's like saying all the teddy bears in The Shining were just happened to be there.
Happened to be there. They really coordinated this very tightly and with a lot of forethought. So no, there's no way that was not on purpose. And this is part of what made the convention so sickening and impossible to watch for anyone who is not a blue MAGA moron. Look at what they're clapping for.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a real billionaire. That's really? And if you ask any one of these people, are you on the left? They would say yes.
Yeah, of course.
They have no concept of what that word means. And as we've increasingly been getting into, because I've been doing more and more research, partly because of our audience directing me towards sources, which I appreciate. Yeah, man, this is by design. This is by design. They spent decades cultivating a left that has no class analysis, that has no economics, that cultivates the rebellious pose of the left, as Caleb Maupin put it in his book about Kamala, cultivating that pose of rebellion. So how do you cultivate that pose of rebellion without any economics? It all goes into lifestyle branding. It has to go into, that's why they're so obsessed with sexuality, because it's one of the few things they can use to kind of create some kind of conflict with conservatives at this point.
Right.
You have to go into more and more extreme kind of sexual permutations, because how do you claim to be a left with no economics? And the more society accepts, hey, you do you, the more bizarre they have to get to claim to be left. The essence of being left is economics. Without it, I mean, you're gonna what's next? Yes, everyone has the right to have their right knee amputated. Like what's next? What weird shit are you gonna put out there that no person with common sense would accept in order to claim that you're left as a way of avoiding discussing economics? I have a friend, our friend Kevin, who is going to be doing that show at La Mama in November that Jimmy's probably going to stream into. He put up a post showing a picture of like an 80-year-old woman who was jacked and an 80-year-old woman who had a walker.
Right.
And the point of the post was the choices you make every day have a lot to do with where you end up. And, you know, because he's in the theater, you got all these, you know, these people saying, you know, that's very ableist. That's it, man. They've cultivated people who think of themselves as left. They've cultivated this group whose default is neurosis and victimhood. They see everything in those terms. And if you frame it in those terms, they'll applaud fucking anything. They'll applaud anything. They'll applaud this fucking billionaire coming out on stage and distinguishing himself from the other billionaire by saying, I'm a real billionaire.
Well, this is why, I mean, they wanted Michael Bloomberg to run. I mean, some people wanted Bloomberg to run in 2016 because of this, because they actually thought it would be a great own to have real billionaire, a real self-made billionaire run against Donald Trump. A lot of the libs were kind of into that. I mean, they loved Hillary, but they're thinking, hey, wouldn't it be great if Bloomberg ran because he could say he's a real billionaire? I'm like, yeah, that's going to be a real own 7 years out of the worst financial crisis in 80 years, where the only reason Donald Trump has a chance at winning is because people in the middle of the country hate billionaires, hate coastal billionaires. Yeah, it's a great idea. Run the real billionaire. Yeah, and then in 2020, that was kind of the basis of his campaign, which didn't go very far. But that was why he threw his hat in the ring. And there is a contingent of Democrats who really think that that's an own, because they really, what they care about first and foremost is how do we humiliate Donald Trump. To a lot of Democrats and to a lot of liberals, they just love making up that Trump is triggered or Trump is humiliated, even when he's not. Oh, Trump must be roiling mad. That Rachel Maddow had this great monologue about, like, well, he doesn't, like, it's just fantasy. It's just fantasy. And I think part of it is that. So part of him going up there and saying, I'm a real billionaire, was that. They thought, hey, this might trigger Donald Trump. I also think they didn't want Bernie's anti-billionaire message to, like, percolate too much. Yeah. Like, they wanted to, like, 20 minutes later, hey, don't forget. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hey, don't forget. Yeah, we let that guy say his thing. Here's the real billionaire.
And then they send Oprah and Michelle, a billionaire and many multiples of millionaire, out on stage to critique the rich.
Yeah.
That is the purpose of Michelle. That is the purpose of Oprah. That is the purpose of Kamala. That was the purpose of Barack Obama. It is to put these diverse faces out front of the same old wealth inequality. It is to throw the emphasis onto diversity in order to create an illusion of progress. And I don't blame these fucking vampires who have all this money for wanting to go out and con people with these FDR platitudes. I blame the people for swallowing that. How fucking stupid can you be to listen to Michelle Obama go out on stage talking about how her daddy didn't trust people who wanted more than they needed? How many mansions do the Obamas have?
She charges, I mean, at least, I mean, the number that came out in the press was $750,000 for, like, a speaking fee. Let's say that's off by double. Let's say that's off by let's say you charge $400,000 for a speaking fee. That's not asking too much. That's not asking too much. You're the first lady. You have 3 mansions. You need $400,000 for a speech. That's not asking too much.
Please clap.